Dr. Marcus Webb wiped the grease from his hands as he examined the delicate servo motors spread across his workbench. The colony station's medical wing had rejected his proposal 3 times. Too expensive, they said. Too experimental. But Marcus had never been good at accepting no when a child was suffering. The Kickstar child had arrived 2 weeks ago with her father, a merchant who traded in rare minerals. The little girl, though girl was perhaps too human a term, had lost her lower right appendage in a mining accident on their homeworld. The Kickstar were an insectoid species, proud and ancient, with exoskeletons that shimmered like oil on water. Their biology was complex, their culture notoriously private. Marcus had watched the father's antennae droop with despair as the station's medical officer explained that prosthetics for non-human species weren't covered under standard insurance. The cost would be astronomical. They would have to return home and wait months, perhaps years, for their own medical facilities to construct something suitable. The child, her name was something like Zixitha, though Marcus's human tongue couldn't quite wrap around the clicks and whistles, had stood perfectly still during the consultation. But her compound eyes had tracked every movement in the room, and Marcus recognized the look. He'd seen it in human children back on Earth. Fear wrapped in forced bravery. That night, Marcus had returned to his workshop. He'd spent 15 years as a prosthetics engineer before joining the Colony Initiative. He'd crafted limbs for soldiers, accident victims, and children born with congenital defects. But he'd never attempted anything for an alien physiology. The challenge ignited something in him that had been dormant since leaving Earth. For 2 weeks he worked in secret. He studied Kickstar anatomy through every medical database he could access. He learned that their appendages weren't just for walking. They were sensory organs capable of detecting vibrations, chemical signatures, and electromagnetic fields. A simple mechanical leg wouldn't suffice. It needed to be a miracle of engineering. Marcus used his own savings to purchase materials. He machined parts in the dead hours when the workshop was empty. He coded neural interfaces that could translate human prosthetic technology into something a Kickstar nervous system could understand. He failed 17 times. On the 18th attempt, something clicked into place. The morning he finished, Marcus sent a message to the Kickstar merchant's quarters. The father arrived an hour later, antennae quivering with suspicion and hope in equal measure. Marcus didn't make speeches. He simply showed them the limb. It was beautiful, a blend of brushed titanium and synthetic chitin, with microsensors embedded throughout. The joint moved with fluid grace, and the neural interface glowed with soft bioluminescence that matched Kickstar biology. Marcus had even etched traditional Kickstar patterns into the surface, designs he'd found in cultural databases, symbols of strength and resilience. The father's antennae went rigid. He made a sound that Marcus's translator couldn't process, something between a sob and a war cry. Fitting the prosthetic took 3 hours. Marcus worked carefully, explaining each step through the translator, letting Zixitha's father monitor every connection. When the neural interface synced, the little girl's compound eyes flared with light. She took a hesitant step, then another. Then she was actually running in circles around the workshop, her new limb moving in perfect harmony with her natural gait. Her father turned to Marcus, and for the first time the humans saw a Kickstar weep. Their tears were crystalline, falling like tiny diamonds. "You have given her back her life," the father said through the translator. "There is no payment that could equal this debt." Marcus shook his head. "There's no debt. I'm just glad she's okay." The father studied him for a long moment, antennae twitching in a pattern Marcus couldn't interpret. Then he bowed, a deep ceremonial gesture, and left with his daughter. Marcus cleaned his workshop and went to bed, exhausted but satisfied. He'd helped a child. That was enough. He was awoken 4 hours later by pounding on his door. Station security stood outside, looking nervous. Behind them was an entourage of Kickstar warriors, their exoskeletons polished to mirror brightness, carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. And in the center of the formation stood a figure that made Marcus's breath catch. She was massive, easily twice the size of any Kickstar he'd seen. Her exoskeleton was adorned with jewels and precious metals. 4 additional appendages extended from her thorax, marks of royalty. Her compound eyes contained entire galaxies. The queen of the Kickstar hive worlds had come to his door. Marcus's mind raced. Had he violated some cultural taboo? Had his prosthetic been an insult? He'd been so focused on the engineering that he hadn't considered the political implications. The queen moved forward, and her warriors parted like water. She stood before Marcus, towering over him, and the station's lights seemed to dim in her presence. Then she knelt. The translator crackled to life. "You are Marcus Webb, the human engineer." "Yes, Your Majesty," Marcus managed. "You gave my sister's daughter a new limb. You asked for nothing. You worked in secret with your own resources for a child not of your species." The queen's antennae swept forward, almost touching Marcus's face. "Do you understand what you have done?" Marcus swallowed. "I helped a kid who needed help." The queen made a sound, a thrumming that resonated in Marcus's chest. It took him a moment to realize she was laughing. "Humans," she said, with something that might have been affection. "Always so simple in your greatness." She rose to her full height. "My people have observed your species with caution. You're young, aggressive, unpredictable. We wondered if you deserved a place among the star-faring civilizations." She gestured, and one of her warriors brought forward a case made of some crystalline material. "You have answered that question," the queen continued. "Any species that would show such kindness to a stranger's child, that would give freely of their skill and resources without thought of reward, deserves not just a place among the stars, but honor." She opened the case. Inside was a medallion that seemed to contain living light. "This is the Star of Kinship. It has been awarded only twice in 10,000 years. You are the first human to receive it." She placed it around Marcus's neck. "With this comes a promise. The Kickstar hive worlds stand with humanity. Your people will never walk alone in the dark." Marcus stared at the medallion, then at the queen, then at the assembled warriors who had all placed their appendages over their thoraxes in salute. "I just wanted to help," he said quietly. "Yes," the queen replied. "That is why this matters." As dawn broke over the colony station, Marcus Webb stood in his doorway, wearing the galaxy's most prestigious honor, given not for conquest or discovery, but for simple human compassion. In the workshop behind him, the tools lay scattered, instruments of creation, not destruction, and somewhere in the station, a Kickstar child ran on 6 legs whole again, because one human had decided that no wasn't an acceptable answer when it came to a child's future. That, the queen had recognized, was what made humanity truly extraordinary.